High on a hill overlooking the town stood an old mansion. It was once grand, a testament to a bygone era. Now, it was but a hollow shell, a haunting reminder of forgotten dreams. The wind whistled through its broken windows, composing a symphony of sorrow that echoed through the empty halls. The house was a monument to decay. Its paint peeled, a flaking skin of a once vibrant past. Vines like grasping claws clung to the walls, threatening to drag it down into the earth. Whispers of long-gone residents seemed to emanate from its very walls. Stories of heartbreak, betrayal, and madness clung to it like cobwebs. The town below bustled with life, oblivious to the silent sentinel that watched over it. Or perhaps not so oblivious. Perhaps they chose to ignore it, to pretend that the darkness that clung to the mansion on the hill didn't cast a shadow over their own lives. For Blackwood Manor was more than just an abandoned house. It was a reminder of a past they'd rather forget. Generations had come and gone, each whispering tales of the mansion. Tales passed down from grandparents to grandchildren, each story more outlandish, more terrifying than the last. Some spoke of strange lights seen flickering in the dead of night, others of blood-curdling screams that pierced the silence. But the most common thread that ran through all the stories was the feeling of being watched, of an unseen presence that lingered just beyond the veil of reality. The children of the town knew the stories best. They whispered them to each other in hushed tones, daring each other to venture closer, but none dared to approach the mansion, not after dark, for it was said that when the sun set, the mansion truly came alive.
Come on, Slowpoke, are you scared?
No, just cautious. This place gives me the creeps.
Scared, cautious, same difference. It's just an old house, Tom. Probably just needs a good dusting and a new paint job. Maybe some modern furniture. Think mid-century modern, or maybe minimalist chic.
Did you hear that?
Hear what? Ready?
The mansion loomed before them, more imposing and sinister in the fading light. The once grand entrance was now a gaping maw, the heavy oak door hanging precariously from its hinges. Without waiting for his reply, Anna pushed open the door with a groan of protest. The sound echoed through the house, a deafening boom in the stillness. A musty smell, a mixture of dust and decay, assaulted their senses, sending a wave of nausea through Tom. The hallway stretched before them, swallowed by darkness.
Well, here goes nothing.
I don't like this, Anna. This place feels wrong.
Relax, Tom. It's just an old house. Probably just needs a good airing out.
As they stepped across the threshold, the floorboards groaned in protest. Anna, her initial bravado waning, fumbled for her phone, its flashlight a meager beacon against the oppressive darkness. Her words trailed off as her flashlight beam fell upon something that sent a fresh wave of unease washing over her. There, hanging on the wall, was a portrait. The woman in the portrait was beautiful, with flowing auburn hair and piercing blue eyes. The air grew heavy, thick with unseen tension. Each footstep echoed in the cavernous silence of the mansion. Whispers, soft and indistinct, seemed to slither from the very walls, sending chills down their spines.
Did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a malevolent wind. They seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once, taunting them, toying with their fear. Anna's grip on Tom's arm tightened. They stumbled upon a grand ballroom, its former glory now hidden beneath a thick layer of dust and decay.
A crystal chandelier, its once sparkling facets now dull and lifeless, hung precariously from the ceiling.
I imagine a time when this room had been filled with music and laughter.
Now only silence reigns, a heavy, oppressive silence.
Can you imagine? This place must have been amazing.
Amazingly creepy, you mean?
A long hallway lined with floor-to-ceiling mirrors stretched before them.
The mirrors, once reflecting the opulence of the mansion, were now tarnished with age.
Drawn by a morbid curiosity, I stepped closer to one of the mirrors. My reflection stared back at me, pale and ghostly in the flickering flashlight beam. But there was something else, something unsettling in the reflection. A fleeting glimpse of a figure standing behind me. A dark, indistinct shape that vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Tom, did you see that?
Anna's voice trembled slightly as she turned back to Tom.
Tom?
Don't you see them? They're everywhere. Faint figures, shimmering like heat haze, stood at the edge of the mirror's reflections.
They found themselves in a nursery, its once cheerful wallpaper now faded and peeling.
A rocking horse stood frozen in mid-gallop, its painted eyes staring vacantly into the gloom.
A child's doll lay discarded on the floor, its porcelain face cracked and stained with time.
The air, thick with the scent of dust and decay, seemed to vibrate with a strange energy.
As I stepped further into the room, I heard it, a faint sound barely audible above the creaking of the house. It was the sound of a child's laughter, high-pitched and filled with a chilling innocence. Anna spun around, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, but she was alone.
Tom, his face ashen, stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide with terror.
And then just as suddenly as it had started, the laughter stopped.
Tom!
Anna's breath caught in her throat. A cold spot settled in the room, a stark contrast to the stifling, stagnant air. It emanated from a figure at the end of the hallway, bathed in the ethereal glow of the moon shining through a nearby window. It was a woman, her form indistinct, draped in a flowing white gown. Even from behind, her sorrow was palpable, a tangible weight that settled over Anna like a shroud.
Tom!
Tom seemed unable to speak, his eyes fixed on the apparition. The figure seemed to turn, ever so slowly, as if inviting them closer, deeper into the heart of the mansion's sorrow. Anna, her curiosity battling with a growing sense of dread, took a hesitant step forward. A mournful melody drifted from the grand ballroom, drawing them closer to its source. It was a melancholic waltz, played on a piano so out of tune it seemed to weep under each note. Yet the melody itself was hauntingly beautiful, each note laced with a heart-wrenching sorrow that resonated within Anna's very soul. The ghostly figure, still clutching the unseen child, now stood before the piano.
She's sad. The music, it's like she's crying.
We need to leave, Anna. This is wrong. All of this is wrong.
Drawn by an unseen force, Anna found herself stepping onto the ballroom floor. She approached the ghostly figure cautiously, her heart pounding against her ribs like a captive bird. As she drew closer, she noticed a book resting atop the piano, its leather cover worn and faded. It was a diary, its pages filled with elegant script, a stark contrast to the spectral scene unfolding before her. Without taking her eyes from the ghostly woman, Anna reached out and carefully lifted the diary. The pages were cold beneath her fingers, as if touched by frost, yet they did not crumble or disintegrate. As she opened the diary, the mournful melody reached a crescendo.
The music, it was the only solace for my broken heart. As Anna delved deeper into the diary's pages, the ghostly figure began to shimmer, her form becoming more distinct. The childlike apparition, still held close, seemed to fade in and out of view. "She's trapped," Anna whispered, her gaze flickering between the diary and the spectral figure. "Her sorrow, it's keeping her tethered to this place."
What do you mean, trapped? He asked, his voice barely audible above the mournful piano.
As if summoned by his words, the ghostly figure turned towards them, her sorrowful gaze meeting Anna's. It was not a menacing look, but one of deep longing, a plea for release from a prison of her own sorrow.
Anna, her heart aching with a grief that wasn't her own, knew what she had to do. The diary had spoken of a locket, a symbol of the love the ghostly woman had lost, now buried beneath the old oak tree at the edge of the property. It was the key, the diary proclaimed, to unlocking her sorrow, to setting her spirit free. "We can help her!" Anna said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her chest. "We can set her free."
Tom, his skepticism momentarily forgotten, nodded slowly.
The ghostly figure, as if sensing a glimmer of hope, reached out a translucent hand towards Anna. The air was crisp with the promise of dawn as Anna and Tom emerged from the mansion. The oppressive weight that had clung to them within its walls seemed to lift with each step they took away from the house. The oak tree, its silhouette stark against the lightning sky, stood at the edge of the property, its branches reaching out like protective arms.
"Are you sure about this, Anna?" Tom asked, his voice still hushed with the memory of the night's events. He shivered, pulling his jacket tighter against the morning chill. Despite the rising sun, Blackwood Manor still cast a long shadow over them.
Anna nodded, her gaze fixed on the ancient oak. "The diary said it was buried here," she replied, her voice firm despite the tremor of unease that still lingered within her. "Beneath the oak tree, where their love first bloomed."
As they approached the tree, Anna felt a familiar chill, a ghostly presence that sent shivers down her spine. But this time it wasn't laced with sorrow or despair. It was a gentle presence, almost welcoming, as if the ghostly woman was guiding them, urging them forward.
"He looks familiar, but I can't place him. It's him," I whispered, my eyes fixed on the miniature portrait within the locket. The young man in the portrait was handsome, with kind eyes and a warm smile that seemed to reach out from the past. It was a face filled with life, a stark contrast to the sorrow that had permeated the mansion. The mournful melody that had haunted the mansion's halls faded, replaced by a profound silence, a stillness that was both eerie and comforting. As I carefully lifted the locket from the earth, a soft breeze rustled through the oak's leaves, a sigh that seemed to echo through the years. It was tarnished with age, its silver surface dull and scratched, yet it still held a delicate beauty, a whisper of the love it represented. The locket was buried shallowly, as if time itself had conspired to return this lost piece of the past to the light.
I returned to the mansion, the locket clutched tightly in my hand. The ghostly figure stood in the grand ballroom, bathed in the soft light of dawn that streamed through the now unboarded windows. The childlike apparition, its form still indistinct, stood beside her.
As you approached, the ghostly woman turned towards you, her features clearer now, the sorrow that had etched lines on her spectral face softened by a flicker of hope. The mournful melody that had echoed through the mansion's halls was gone, replaced by a profound silence.
"We found it," I said softly, my voice echoing in the stillness of the ballroom. I held out the locket towards the ghostly figure. "We found your locket."
The ghostly woman reached out, her translucent hand trembling slightly. As her fingers brushed against the cold metal, a soft light emanated from the locket, bathing the room in a warm glow. The silence that descended upon the ballroom was absolute, yet it was not empty. It was a silence filled with peace, a sense of closure that settled over the mansion like a benediction. The shadows that had haunted Blackwood Manor for so long had finally been laid to rest. We watched in silence as the ghostly figures faded away, their forms dissolving into motes of light that drifted towards the heavens. The locket fell to the floor with a soft thud, its silver surface now polished to a brilliant shine. The spectral melody of the waltz returned, but this time it was different. It was no longer a lament, but a celebration, a bittersweet farewell. The ghostly woman and the young boy began to dance, their movements graceful and fluid, their forms fading in and out of view as they waltzed across the ballroom floor. The ghostly figure began to shimmer, her form growing fainter with each passing moment. The childlike apparition, now clearly visible as a young boy, smiled at me, his laughter echoing through the ballroom, no longer laced with sorrow, but with a pure, childlike joy.
As the first rays of dawn pierced through the gloom, Blackwood Manor seemed to shrug off the weight of its sorrowful past. The golden light bathed the mansion in an ethereal glow, transforming its once forbidding facade into something almost welcoming. The oak tree, its leaves rustling gently in the morning breeze, stood sentinel at the edge of the property, a silent testament to the secrets it had kept and the peace it had witnessed.
It's beautiful.
Anna and Tom emerged from the mansion, blinking in the newfound light. The world outside seemed brighter, sharper, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the true beauty that had always been there, hidden beneath a layer of sorrow and fear.
The fear that had gripped me so tightly just hours before has dissipated, replaced by a sense of awe and a profound sense of gratitude.
They walked in silence for a while, their footsteps light on the dew-kissed grass. The events of the night pressed upon them, a surreal tapestry woven from fear and sorrow, courage and compassion. Yet, amidst the lingering echoes of the spectral waltz and the fading scent of dust and decay, there was a sense of peace, a knowledge that they had played a part in righting a wrong that had haunted Blackwood Manor for far too long.
Do you think she's finally at peace?
Anna glanced at the locket clutched tightly in her hand. The silver, once tarnished with age, now gleamed brightly in the morning light, a symbol of a love that had endured even beyond the veil of death.
I think so. They're together again, and that's all that matters.
As they reached the bottom of the hill, Anna turned back to look at the mansion one last time. The sun, now fully risen, bathed Blackwood Manor in a warm golden light. The windows, no longer boarded up, sparkled like watchful eyes, and for a fleeting moment, Anna could have sworn she saw a figure standing in one of the upstairs windows. It was a woman, her form indistinct in the bright light, but Anna knew it was the ghostly figure, her spectral white gown flowing around her like a wisp of smoke. Beside her stood the young boy, his laughter carried on the gentle breeze. They were both smiling, their faces filled with a peace that transcended the boundaries of life and death. Anna didn't feel afraid. She raised her hand in a silent farewell, a gesture of gratitude for the glimpse into a love story that had touched her heart and reminded her of the enduring power of compassion. The figure in the window returned the gesture, a slight nod of acknowledgement before fading from view. The town below bustled with life, oblivious to the silent drama that had unfolded on the hilltop. The sun climbed higher in the sky, chasing away the last vestiges of night, and with it, the shadows of fear and sorrow that had clung to Blackwood Manor for so long. Anna and Tom walked on, their footsteps echoing their growing distance from the mansion and its secrets. Life, they knew, went on, even in the face of loss, even in the shadow of death. The locket, a tangible reminder of the ghostly encounter, felt warm against Anna's skin. It was a symbol of a love that had transcended time and death, a love that had found peace at last. And as Anna clutched it tightly in her hand, she knew that some stories, even the most haunting ones, never truly end. They live on, whispered on the wind, echoing in the heart, a testament to the enduring power of love and the importance of letting go.